We would like to welcome you to our Bite-Sized Learning monthly webinar. Today, we are going to be talking about the crucial role of holistic student support for diversity and inclusion. So I'm so excited about digging into this topic and learning more. If you would like to, so we kind of know who's out there, if you want to tell us who you are and where you're at, and just throw that in the chat. My name is Rhonda Blackburn. I am the CIO of TXDLA Board of Directors, and I get the privilege of being able to do these every month, along with my co-chair, Kelly Irwin. She's not able to be here today, but I did want to give her a shout out. Reminding we have these webinars every single month on the second Wednesday of every month at noon Central. If you found it through a different way, you can always find them on our website at txdla.org. under webinars and bite-sized learning. We try to post what's coming up as soon as we possibly can, but you also, if you're a member, you get to be able to see any of the webinars we've had in the past. So today, again, we are going to do the crucial role of holistic student support for diversity and inclusion. Next month, I just want to get a shout out to what we're doing then. A lot of people know that the new federal rules for accessibility came out. So we're going to dive deep into that law and see what's going on and how I can prepare for it for tomorrow. I want you just to put it on your calendar. We don't quite have the dates yet. Information is coming soon, but we always have an amazing fall leadership workshop, and that will be obviously the fall of 2024. This is a Zoom meeting, so just remember that it is being recorded, as you saw. We do have the chat open and available. Do keep yourself on mute just in case there's background noise. I know I'm going to because I have doggies, and they will probably bark during this time. But if you do have any questions, I know Rebecca would love to hear from you. Either open up your mic, show your video, put something in the chat. And I'll also help her keep an eye on that as well. But now, I am going to turn it over to Rebecca and let her introduce herself and get started with this webinar. Thank you, Rebecca.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Rhonda. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all as well, and then we can jump right on into things. Rhonda, can you just give me a thumbs up? Let me know that you're seeing everything okay on your side. Perfect. All right. So I guess just again, a good afternoon and welcome everyone. On behalf of everyone here at Upswing, even though I'm the Upswing delegate today, we are so thrilled to have you with us to share more and to learn about the crucial role of holistic student support for diversity and inclusion. For those of you that might be on the call, that might be partners of ours, welcome. We're excited to see you again, as always. For those of you that are not yet part of the Upswing family, we are pleased to welcome you as well and look forward to introducing to you a little bit more about the Upswing mission and really what we stand for. And also just wanted to give a shout out to Lisa and Rhonda and the team at TXDLA for giving us the opportunity to be with you here today. It's something we are always honestly very, very honored to do anytime we get to do something like this. So like Rhonda said, during our time together, please feel free to drop questions or comments into the chat. I will try to be good about staying with it. We're kind of going along here, but fear not, I'm also going to leave a good amount of time for us at the end to make sure that you all have any time to ask questions should you want to. So before we kind of, dive into things, I do just want to take us through our roadmap of our time together. So really our main goal today is to walk you through, again, the crucial role of holistic student support for diversity and inclusion and how Upswing's unique approach to holistic student support resources can really move the needle, not just for your students, but hopefully for all of you on this call as well. So we'll spend some time going through a brief introduction, then walk you through Upswing's founding story, as we believe, it's really pivotal to not just tell you what we do, but why it is that we do it. Then we are going to go through intersecting identities, talk about what that is, why it matters in the context of this particular conversation. And then we are going to talk through, what it looks like for just the Upswing story in general. And we are going to talk about Upswing's mission, mental health and well-being. Before that, moving from reactive to proactive, data and impact. And like I said at the end, we are definitely going to make sure that we save some time for some questions. So again, before we kind of start off, I do just want to introduce you to the person that you are going to be spending the next hour of your time with. Hello, my name is Rebecca. I'm the VP of Revenue over here at Upswing. And so I oversee our new partnerships team as well as our hero team. which stands for Higher Education Retention Officer. So we consider each institution that we work with to be our genuine partners. And so each of those partners gets a dedicated hero to work with, and I have the distinct honor of leading both teams. But I also want to share with you a little bit more about my journey in higher education. It started over 15 years ago, actually. I went to school to be a human rights lawyer, and that was primarily to fight for the equal access to education for women in under-resourced countries or countries that particularly have bans on women's education. I even taught human rights overseas for a while. And as my career developed, I found myself really wanting to work in a field that allowed me to bring more equitable resources to more students on a broader scale. And that's really what led me here to Upswing. But I was actually also a non-traditional student myself. I was a first-gen student. In fact, the only person in any lines of my family to ever attend any higher education institution. And I am actually a dual citizen of both the United States and Portugal. Now, the reason why I want to share all of that with you is not really necessarily about me at all, but it's really to ground us in this idea that Upswing is an organization built by people exactly like me, which I think really reflect a lot of the similar lived experiences to the students that we have as well. So I really believe that that creates a different approach and a different space as we're looking at every aspect of our organization. But there is another person's story that I want to share with you briefly, kind of before we dive into it. And that is the story of our CEO and co-founder, Melvin Hines. So as, again, a mission-driven organization, I do think that it's very imperative to ground us in who Upswing is, why this organization was founded, why we exist, why are we having this conversation about holistic student support as it comes to really through the lens of diversity and inclusion. So everything that we do is really about student success and institutional partnerships. So Melvin founded Upswing nearly 11 years ago. He grew up in South Georgia, and where he attended a high school with very limited resources, which I think that he would say is putting it lightly, a severe lack of funding or really access to any type of support resource. And as such, he was one out of only 68 students to graduate out of a class of 250. So he then went on to the University of Georgia, and he found that he was like very underprepared for the entire college experience and entered what he says is already a league behind his classmates. Now, he did end up graduating from the University of Georgia, despite really having the odds stacked against him. But he really did found Upswing based on the belief that where you were from shouldn't dictate your success in life, and that every single student should have the same access to support resources, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or where they live. Now, I think as everyone probably on this call can attest to, Melvin's story is unfortunately, and I would say probably heartbreakingly, it's very common as we're looking at the students that we're dealing with today in the higher education landscape. When we look at the statistics, and these ones here on the screen are from the National Center for Education Statistics, can also send this over to anybody after this call, should they be interested in reading a little bit more about any of the data points that I'm going to share with you throughout our time together today, just let me know. And what we can see, I think, through looking at these statistics is that this is actually a trend, right? So here it's public universities have a higher than average dropout rate of 50%, right? 52% of students between the ages of 24 and 29 years old drop out. 3 in every 10 students drop out after or within the first year of college. And we can go on and on as we're looking at these data and we're looking at these statistics. But I do just want to ask us, just for a second, do we believe that these statistics here that are represented on this screen tell the whole story? Pause there for just a second. Let's look at just a few more. And again, this is from the National Center of Education Statistics again, and this one is primarily looking at why are students dropping out. Now, the number one reason that they said here, based on, again, this survey, is that the students are first gen and low income, followed by financial shortcomings, then academic failure, then a lack of belonging. And a cluster there at the bottom is listed as, mental health, physical health, and lack of transportation. So these, again, data points, I believe, are a very excellent place for us to start the conversation. But I do want to ask us again, do we really believe that these statistics that you're seeing here tell the full story. And you can do that silently even. And just ask yourself as well, just why or why not? Like if we do feel like they tell the whole story, why is that? And if we don't, why is that as well? So I'll share with you a little bit more about what we believe here at Upswing. So we believe that there is so much more complexity to the why behind students not being retained, not persisting through, and especially not graduating. Because of the intersecting identities of every single student, and we believe every single person for that matter, there are a host of different identity structures that make up who a person is, and therefore it could be any one or more of those identities that really threaten a student's chance of making it to the finish line. So when we talk about intersecting identities, this here is really what we're talking about. So intersecting identities refer to the various social categories or characteristics that an individual possesses, such as race, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, disability, socioeconomic status, and et cetera, as you can see some other examples that are listed here on the screen. So let's go through a couple of examples of what this looks like. So a person may have intersecting identities as a Black woman, a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, and a person with a disability. Now, these identities intersect and overlap to shape that individual's experiences and perspectives. Here's a couple more examples as we're kind of looking at it from the lens of a student perspective. So a student could be first gen and low income, but they can also be Hispanic, Catholic, and again, part of the LGBTQIA plus community. A student can have financial shortcomings, sure, but they can also be an Air Force veteran, 40 years old, trilingual, and living in a very urban setting. A student is not just one thing. A student is not just one identity, right? They're not just one data point. No person is. And so we're also complex. And again, it could be the meeting point of any of the students' intersecting identities that could be the cause threatening their ability to really make it through to that finish line. And again, when we talk about the students primarily that Upswing aims to serve, it's these students here that are listed on the screen. So it's the non-traditional and historically marginalized student, it's the first gen, minority, low income, students from rural communities, adult learners, student parents, working students, veterans, right? And we really do believe here at Upswing that when you build resources with the intersecting identities of these particular students in mind, you truly do build inclusive resources for all students, every student. And it also really does allow us to think through the complexities of the barriers that exist between not just the creation of academic and non-academic support for students, but also in ensuring the students actually use those resources after all of the, I'm sure as a lot of you can attest on this call, blood, sweat, and possibly many tears that you put into making those resources available. And, traditional student support services tend to look like this, right? Tend to look like this picture here. The student's at the center, each department is on their own little island, and the student is at the epicenter trying to figure out where to go, who to talk to, and how they can cross the uncertain waters that are before them. And that's if a student even tries to leave their isolated island in the first place. Oftentimes it's too difficult, too complicated, or they will just stay put and try not to seek out any of the other islands / departments that are out there. But to be honest, I really do believe that this is true for the data for each support resource, tool, and service as well. It also means managing multiple different resources, partnerships, logins, contracts, and the list could go on and on and on. I think everybody can really attest to, especially nowadays, tech fatigue is so real. It's real for the students. It's real for, faculty, staff, support teams, whomever, which is why Upswing knew that really the only true solution had to be providing resources that takes all of those islands, all of those different resources, and puts them into one consolidated place, creating one hub, a one-stop shop for both students and the admin teams that work tirelessly to support them. And we'll get through in just a second, a couple more slides upcoming about why this is so important, especially as we look at it through the lens of supporting students that we serve today. And again, better yet, all of these resources are built and designed with the intersecting identities of every single student in mind. So that's exactly what we did here at Upswing. We designed a holistic student services platform that was built to truly wrap around every single student. And we basically say it in this way, it's an ecosystem, right? Designed to support the entire student. And again, we do look at it as kind of doing that full wraparound for every student. Our goal, and truly, is to extend and amplify the work that you all are already doing on your campuses. It's just to ensure that we can pick up wherever it is that you all leave off. And if there are any gaps, we can walk alongside you to fill them. It's not a one size fits all. Every single institution is different. The student population at every single institution is different as well. And we really do want to honor that. So we have, academic support with 24/7 synchronous and asynchronous tutoring, both the ability for campus tutors to be on our platform, as well as hundreds of Upswing tutors, a place for peer tutors or supplemental instruction to be on there, supplemental instructors. We have advising, early alerts and analytics, mental health and well-being resources, teletherapy, and Anna, our engagement, belonging, and information powerhouse. Again, all in one centralized location. One access point for students, one place for them to remember, one place for admins to direct them to, ensuring really a higher engagement and usage rate, which, as we know, ultimately is going to be the largest thing that's going to impact retention, persistence, and finally, those graduation rates. And then, of course, like I've already said, it's one tool to manage for the admins, and which then means streamlined data for every single resource. No more cobbling together data from different resources or trying to figure out how to manage multiple different partnerships or try to piece things together to tell one succinct story. We do all of that for you in one place. And again, all of this has been designed very thoughtfully to remove the barriers for access. We know for a fact that students will not access resources if we make it too complicated or convoluted for them, which I'm going to share with you a little bit more about in just a second here. Now, I briefly kind of gave you an overview of the resources that we provide over here at Upswing, and I believe that every single one of them are fantastic. We have a host of academic and non-academic resources, along obviously with all of the additional resources that all of you have at your institutions that we haven't even mentioned here yet today, because I'm sure all of you can probably list off 20, 30. But the key thing I think that we like to keep in mind is that these resources, as well as all of the resources you make available to your students at your individual institutions, are only as good as they are accessible. I'm going to say that again. So all of the resources that you work tirelessly to make available for your students are only as good as they are accessible. If students do not know about them, if students do not use them, it's almost as if you didn't have them in the first place. And I think that this is where a lot of institutions find themselves, right? At this very unique juncture between needing to make the resources available for students in the first place, and when they are available to them, really getting them to then actually use those resources, right? So it's like first making them available, and then like, how do we get them to actually then do it? How do we get them to actually use the resources that are there? And I really believe that this is because a lot of these resources that we're making available for students are built from a solely reactive model, right? Meaning it would require the student to seek out the services in order to access them. And this is precisely, I think, where Anna by Upswing, our engagement, belonging, and information powerhouse, can really come into play when looking at the bigger picture of holistic student support and success resources. Let me dive into this a little bit further because I love data and statistics. I love a survey. So this one is by a recent study by the Gallup and Lumina Foundation, where they found that nearly half of all students considered quitting school last year. And the top 3 reasons for that were cited as emotional distress, mental health, and education costs. So you can see here, right, 52% of Hispanic students, when asked the question, have you considered dropping out of school in the last year, said yes. 43% of Black students, 36% of white students, 30% of Asian students. Now, we also know from the data is that Latino and Black students are the least likely to raise their hands to say that they need help. And yet, they are the ones that are the most at risk from issues like emotional distress and mental health. So we know that these students are both the most likely to quit and the least likely to raise their hands and to say that they need help. So I think that that leaves us in a very unique predicament, right? We can also see that obviously all of their counterparts are right behind them. And what does all of this mean as we're looking at it through the lens of holistic student support, particularly as we're thinking about diversity and inclusion? We really do believe, again, that the answer is to create both a proactive and reactive resource to wrap around every single student, both the students that raise their hands and the students that don't. Something that is truly available for every single student every single day, no matter what, so that the next time students are asked if they have considered quitting school in the last year, this right here is what the graph can look like. Every single student, regardless of who they are, regardless of their background, can say, no, I have not considered quitting school in the last year. And Anna, we really do believe, is a co-pilot that helps navigate students to the right resources at the right time. So I just want to take some time to kind of dive into what Anna can look like on your campus and in usage, because we really do believe that, again, a proactive resource, reaching out to your students and then really pulling them back in is the key as we're looking at a lot of the other issues that we're experiencing here. So Anna is an SMS-based student engagement and belonging tool that is powered partly by AI and partly by humans. So we have an internal Anna Upswing team that all day, every day, all they are doing is having these critical conversations with students. So we create 13 to 15 data-backed campaigns to send out to students throughout the course of a semester at each institution that we work with. And these campaigns can range from providing them information about deadlines and campus resources to proactively asking them how they're doing and inquiring into their mental health and well-being, to linking them up with tutoring services, or sometimes even just sending them a note of encouragement or just being a listening ear, because sometimes these students, unfortunately, just don't have that, right? So students can also message Anna at any time, day or night. And that could be, asking about the location of the learning commons, or to chat with someone because they're struggling after the passing of a family member. So on the screen, actually, what you're seeing is Anna and a student messaging one another back and forth. So again, what I said with the part AI and part human-based is we also find that in that, Anna is a tool that wraps around the partners as well. So our admins actually reported, and you can see one of those on here, I believe that's number 6, is that Anna has helped relieve them of up to 50% of repetitive student questions. I mean, literally just imagine a world in which you could get 50% of that time in your day without ever feeling like you're compromising the care of your students at all in the process. So over the last year, Anna has engaged in over 2.5 million conversations with students, ranging from conversations back and forth about, honestly, sometimes it's who can send the best dad joke, or again, deadlines and reminders, study skills and academic resources, or conversations around basic needs support and ensuring that every single student knows and has what they have to feel safe, secure, and supported. And again, what I talked about earlier was saying that Anna is part AI and part human-based. The AI part is going to kick in, which, as you can see here, as Anna is messaging back and forth, Anna might send out a campaign that's going to say to the student, hey, your mid-semester check-in, just wanted to see how you're doing, right? Maybe number 1 is, I'm thriving, everything is great over here. Anna automatically responds, wonderful, so glad to hear that. If you need anything, I'm always here, let me know. Maybe the last response that the student does is they say 4, I am struggling, like really falling behind in my classes, do not know what I'm doing, it's just really bad over here. That's actually what's going to trigger somebody from the Anna Upswing team to reach out to that student and actually have a real life conversation with them. They might just respond and say, hey, just wanted to check in a little bit more about how you're doing, what's going on, anything I can help with. And again, what they're doing is trying to draw that student into a conversation to ensure that they have every piece of information that they know to get that student the right resource that they need in the right exact time that they need it, right? Like no delays, no lagging indicators of grades where you might not know how a student is doing until after the semester has already finished, or perhaps you might not know how a student is doing because they've already dropped out, perhaps, right? So we want to make sure that we're always going to provide the resources that you need in the exact timely manner that you need them, also to do any sort of early alerts or intervention. But again, I don't believe there's any better person to tell you about Anna than Anna itself. So I do want to play just a very brief video. It's a couple of minutes, and it's just going to be a dialogue, and it's going to show you actual real life conversations between students and Anna. So you can actually see the power of the type of conversations that Anna is able to have. Again, some of those are going to be AI generated conversations. A lot of them are going to be conversations that are being had by that Anna Upswing team. So just want to play that for you briefly. Caveat is that sometimes the sound goes in and out. So I will make sure if any of you want the link to this video after the fact, I can either drop it in the chat, I can send the link to you after. I do want to play it because I do think that it's very powerful for you to be able to see. And then bear with me here. I'm going to try to make sure that the volume is going to do what it can do, but I know sometimes it can go in or out. I think you can still get the power of the conversation, even if the volume isn't at 100. So I'm just going to go ahead and play this really quick. Hi. Okay, well, it looks like there might have been some sound issues. Thanks, Rebecca, for alerting us of that. I will definitely make sure that I can send the link to everybody so that you can see the Anna video in all of its glory with the sound included. But hopefully you were still able to kind of get an idea of the power that Anna can have with your students. And again, some of these are going to be academic conversations, right? Like, I need help with a course, and so can you hook me up with tutoring and help facilitate that conversation? Some of it's just going to be emotional support. I just need somebody to talk to, and sometimes that's going to be enough. We've also had a lot of our students that we work with send invitations to graduation, and the notes of just gratitude that we get from students every single day for what Anna is able to provide for them is some of the most beautiful things. And it's exactly why I think we all do what we do, right? So again, Anna proactively sends about 13 to 15 messages. We're not going to spend too much time here, but this is essentially what the 3 different types of messages can look like. It can be a decision tree, essentially allowing the student to decide their pathway and giving an answer. And then it is going to alert if it is AI or if it's going to be somebody from the actual Anna Upswing team, reaching out to them. Can be a single message, just like you're seeing here, just a little note of encouragement, or it can be a Hey Anna message, which is essentially just think of it like a Siri or Alexa for the students, but specifically just for campus support resources, student support resources, academic resources, so on and so forth. So, just the power of that. But because you're also allowed to put all of your campus support resources on the Upswing platform, it creates this really symbiotic relationship between all of the resources that you're making available for your students on your campus, and then the extended resources that we're able to provide for your students as well, such as, tutoring at midnight, or, conversation with Anna at 1 a.m, or, whatever it is. Again, just ensuring that every single student is going to have the exact pathway that they specifically need. Some of our students aren't going to need it. They're going to just be just fine. Some of our students are going to need a lot more. So we want to make sure that we're able to kind of ebb and flow and kind of be that accordion for them, right? That's able to expand and contract based on the individual student's experience. And, I think just the power of bringing a resource like Anna is incredibly powerful, but, what would it be without data? And so every single one of our partners gets a customized data dashboard where they're not just going to be able to track every single campaign that's going to be shared. It actually is going to track every single conversation down to the theme. So it really is bringing early intervention and real-time data to just a whole different level. What you're seeing here is a custom data dashboard, obviously for our smarter college, our fake Upswing University, that is going to show every single campaign that was sent, how many student-initiated conversations are being sent, the type of engagement that they're seeing, the unsubscribe rate. And then as we would drill down to the bottom of this data dashboard, you're actually going to see themes such as, are students consistently asking about financial aid resources or campus deadlines, or are they consistently having conversations with Anna about things like food insecurity or transportation issues or childcare? This dashboard is going to show you all of that. So, I think it's just kind of like, imagine what's possible for, every single student that exists on your campus when we make something like this available to them. And we're happy to share that when implementing, a proactive resource like this into the mix, that again meets every single student exactly where they are, regardless of if they're the type of student to raise their hand and ask for help or not, we see the increase in likelihood of graduating by 13.7%, which for us is just a really powerful data point. It's a really powerful statistic. And that means, tens of thousands of students that have stayed in their seat and succeeded all the way through to graduation as a result of this, which again, we're just incredibly proud of. So I want to just kind of briefly do an overview of the additional holistic student support services that we have. I won't go into it in as much depth as I just did with Anna, but I do believe it's important for us to kind of look at some of these key pillars here. So one of the key resources that we have, like I was telling you before, is tutoring. So we have one module that allows institutions to host all of their campus tutors, peer coaches, TAs, supplemental instructors, basically whoever you want, as well as all of Upswing's hundreds of tutors, again, right in the same place. We have tutoring in over 250 different subjects areas. And again, it's designed to be 24/7 to help extend and amplify all of your campus efforts that you're having already. We also have a tutor marketplace. I think this is something that's really critically important as we look at, especially the theme of what we're talking about today, is that a student can choose the exact tutor that they want to work with based on their credentials, availability, preferred spoken language, because we have tutors that speak multiple different languages, or their bio, where it could potentially note that the tutor has a similar lived experience to them. So all data for every single session is recorded, which also allows for, I believe, a lot of streamlined data because it's all campus resources and data and Upswing resources and data in one place, allowing you to have full control over both. Really, I do believe that maybe one of the best parts of this is that Upswing tutors are required to have audio and video on for every single session. So this is not a chat feature. This is not something where the tutors are going to be entertaining multiple different students at the same time. It's really part of our core belief that every single student, when they raise their hand to ask for help, should have full control and agency over the person they get help from. And they also should be able to see that person face to face and be able to have that emotional fidelity with the person that's on the other side of the screen. So just a couple of the key features that we have there. Again, a lot of our similar principles are going to carry over into our assignment review, which is our asynchronous tutoring module. Campus and Upswing tutors can claim students' essays, provide inline feedback, etc. This is also included in our writing lab to help the students with the writing process. We have a citation engine, to help with those ever so tricky citations, but again, won't spend too much time here. We also have an advising module that allows institutions to place their advisors or success coaches, whomever it is that you have at your specific institution, again, right on the Upswing platform. Students can then easily schedule a meeting with their advisor or team of advisors at any time. And then they also can set early alerts and analytics. And this is where the power of these holistic wraparound support resources can really come in, because the advisor can also have access to audit conversations. They can get some background into who the student is and kind of what some of their struggles are before they even have that meeting with them. So it just really is meant to amplify and really just add so much more opportunity to the conversations that we're able to have with students. We also offer really robust mental health and well-being options. So Upswing has a partnership with BetterMind, and through that, we really want to supplement your campus counseling services. Mental health and well-being, as we all know, and I don't think I need to spend too much time talking about that, is a huge thing for every single person, especially as we're looking at the holistic well-being of every single one of our students. And the key thing that we really want to make sure is that if you have a campus counseling center and you just want to supplement with this, wonderful. If you do not have a campus counseling center and you know that this is so critical to provide to your students, maybe we can step in a little bit more. As you've heard me say multiple times, our goal is really just to pick up wherever it is that you leave off, and we're able to kind of wrap around you in the same way that we do your students. So again, this means being available 7 days a week, 24. So we offer 50-minute teletherapy sessions for students, staff, and faculty, actually. We also offer well-being workshops that happen multiple times a week on various psychoeducational topics. We have hundreds of self-paced psychoeducational videos, and we also have on-demand emotional support. Again, won't spend too much time on that. But I also we've ran through it, right? As you can see, there's a lot of different resources that we have. There's a lot of different points of topics that we could talk about as we're looking at, the depth and breadth of this topic that we're talking about today, but I did just want to make sure that we're going to be able to touch on a few stories about the impact that Upswing makes for our partners and their students. So, and I think data, obviously, as you heard me say, is the best way to do that. So let's walk through a couple of those. So as you can see here, Upswing has prevented 60,000 student dropouts from the usage of our resources. 4.9% is the statistically significant increase in student retention that Upswing makes. And for every single assignment review paper that has been submitted, it increases students' GPA by 0.05%, which I think is incredible considering how many papers, right, that students are going to submit throughout their college career. And then this last one I think is really fun too, 7.9% increase in student engagement. So as we're looking at overall students engaging in the resources that you have, students engaging in more student support resources, academic support resources, whatever they are, Upswing is able to move that needle 7.9%, which I don't know about you, but that is something that we are incredibly, incredibly proud of. So again, I really do believe that Upswing is able to meet your students and your institution, exactly where they are, fully wrapping around every single student, no matter what identity structures they hold, no matter where they come from, no matter their background, as well as every single institution, and to be able to meet the diverse needs, which I really do believe is the key to driving deeper success and impact, right? Because ultimately what we're looking at is we want to make sure that we're supporting these students on their journey, but that support has to look like three major things: retention, persistence, and graduation. And through the use of Upswing, through the wraparound support they were able to provide, I think it's a key part of that conversation. So don't really have too much else to share with you, but I would love to open it up to any questions if you all do have any. I know that I'm going to owe you the Anna video, so I'm going to drop that into the chat as well. As I do that, as I find that, I just wanted to see if there's any questions that y'all have.
Now, that was great, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Yeah, any questions that you have, you can open up your mic, you can type it into the chat. We definitely have a few minutes to be able to answer any questions.
I breeze through it. Sometimes, I can talk really fast. All right, I'm going to drop the video in there for you, just in case anybody wants to watch it properly with the sound on.
Well, while people may be thinking or typing, if you want to go ahead and stop sharing, I'll go ahead and kind of close this out, but we can definitely still answer any questions at the end.
Sure thing. I'll drop my email in the chat as well if anybody wants to add something after the fact.
Okay, well, definitely thank you. Lots of great information and statistics. I love numbers too. So it was neat to be able to see the numbers and how you're able to improve on some of those. Want to remind everyone that next month on June 12th, we have the Federal Disability Rights Law. What to do right now and how to prepare for tomorrow's challenges. So also I wanted to remind people on this particular one, we cannot record it. So definitely come and see it in person. Remember, we have bite-sized learnings every single month. You can go to txdla.org and go to webinars and bite-sized learning. Definitely want to thank our partners. Could not do most of the stuff that we do without our partners. So our premium partner now is Anthology. Our platinum is Digital Resources. Our gold partner is D2L and Spera Swing. And we also have our silver partners, HonorLock, Respondus, CourseArc, Edmentum, City Labs, and Read Speaker. And our bronze partners, Proctorio, Instructure, Howard, CCI, Class Technologies, FocusWorks, SFA, My Learning Journey, Soft Chalk, Simple Syllabus, and Inside Track. Continue to check back with us. Pretty soon we were going to have our information about our fall leadership workshop. So continue to look back at that and we would love to see you there. Different reasons to join. One of them is our community, being able to have this discussion that we're having now and others, being able to get into any of the educational stuff we're doing, like our accessibility workshop that we do, any of the main things that we have that we offer you. To join. If you're not a member, we would love you to become a member at txdla.org/membership. You can also follow us. You can join and come to our website at any time, but you can also follow us. And I think I need to change the Twitter now to X, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So I'm going to, oops, we don't need to see that. I can stop sharing. Definitely want to stop, but definitely if anyone has, looks like there's been some messages at the bottom, most people thanking you. Yay. And I think Lisa, it looks like Lisa put in a link to our session for next month as well. So again, we have a few minutes. So if you have any questions or if you want to come off mute, come off video and talk to Rebecca, you are more than welcome to do that. I don't see anyone, Rebecca, but thank you so much for all the amazing information that you gave us and definitely the link to the video. And we will hopefully see everyone future webinars and at any of the other things that we do. Thank y'all so much for joining.